Hey, everybody.
Oh, perfect timing. I'm choking on water. Hold on. I'm okay. Everything's okay.
Oh, geez.
What a way to start the show.
How's it going, everybody? Today I have Paul from Paul's Collectibles and Bailey. And
Bailey's from Paul's Collectibles too, Brandon.
Yeah, that's right. I even put that in the description. I swear I know what I'm talking about sometimes. Hey, Chris, how's it going? It was Chris's 50th birthday yesterday.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Yeah. I stopped by, but I didn't know he was only 50.
There.
I'm older than Chris too. Great. Oh God.
Hey, John, how's it going?
John.
Hey, Josh.
There's Josh.
Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Tina. Star Wars cat lady. I love it.
Yep. Hey, Josh. Oh, so how's it going, everybody?
Bailey?
Well, it's been, I get to talk about Star Wars now. It's been quite the hectic week, so I would say pretty good now.
Yeah. Well, and the important part is now you get to be on a stream with two good-looking guys as well. So
you know what? This stream that's been what's been propelling me like all day. I can't even speak English anymore. I'm so tired. But yeah, the moment you sent us that one video you wanted us to check out, I saw the thumbnail. I'm like, I've got things to say. So like I've been looking forward to it.
Here, look, Brandon, here's my surprise face. Brandon, Bailey has an opinion. So I think the irony of this whole thing is Bailey lives 7 minutes south of me, and we have to get on the computer to see each other. She's like right down the street here in Phoenix. So there's Crazy 8.
We all sound like we have sick going. Uh-oh.
Oh.
What's that? Okay, I'm out. Don't want to get sick, and y'all sound like you got a sick going? Who sounds sick? Do I sound sick?
It might be me.
It could be allergies. I don't know.
Well, so that's a thing down here. Once again, yeah, it's allergy season. The dogs are driving me crazy here. So
yeah,
absolutely.
It's real bad here in Tatooine.
Yeah. Oh God.
Hey,
Bro.
Crazy 8.
That's the other thing we're going to test with this stream too. I'm in the room. Bailey knows this. I'm in the room with the upstairs air handler right above me in the attic. So the air conditioner, when it comes on, just cranks out of there. So we're going to see if we can still hear me. So,
hey, G-Force, how's it going?
G-Force. Luke. There's Luke. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
John, I have a drinking problem. I don't know how to drink water from a bottle, and I was choking to death on water when we started like an idiot.
Hey, Off-World Adam, how's it going?
Adam.
Oh, so I honestly didn't know how to like segue into this, but some people know that we've had something in the works. When I did one of the unboxings, I accidentally showed the shirt. I thought I did the front side so you couldn't see it, but I was like, oh, great.
Bro, you know I came correct. It was on both sides.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was like, ooh.
Good job, Brandon. I thought I was going to be the one to blow the secret.
Could you see what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, vividly.
Like really briefly. I mean, I feel like if you didn't know any better, people just assumed you just got a bad shirt because it was just the logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was like, should I try to edit that out? And I was like, whatever.
Why put any effort into this? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Clink, how's it going?
Clink.
So, with that, do you want to talk a little bit about it, Paul?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, because the object of the game is for me to be the last person to be talking here soon. So, because I to be honest with you, I read your description of the show, special announcement. I'm like, man, I hope we don't suck. It's going to be really disappointing. Brandon's really hyped it up and everything. I'm like, it's just a bunch of
excited
goofballs. I'm glad. I'm actually, so am I, to be honest with you. But there's two ways I can describe this. I'm going to go with the truth first. Let's just be honest here. I'm a narcissist with delusions of grandeur who thinks he can host a podcast. So, but I don't know anything or have anything to talk about because I'm dumb. So I cheated and I got two really smart people, if I can do this, to come and help me. And so starting just before May 4th, Bailey from Paul's Collectibles and I almost got it right, and Brandon from ApprenticeEwok are going to be my two minds, if you will, or the talking heads or the information sources on what we are going to be calling the Bad Batch Breakdown with Brandon and Bailey, because alliteration and stuff. So it's going to be like a brief, maybe hour, half hour. There it is. Brandon, coming correct, repping, bruh. There it is. So what's basically going to happen is, I think, and correct me if I get any of this wrong, Brandon, then I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Saturday, we're going to do these on Saturdays?
Yep.
Okay. So the shows are except for the one on May 4th, which is a little weird. We may do two in one episode, but the show comes on, the new Bad Batch is premiering on May 4th, and then they're going to be on Friday nights from thereafter. And on Saturday in the afternoon, we're not quite sure what time yet because it comes down to when Bailey feels like she can drop by and grace us with her presence. We're going to get on. We're going to do analysis, opinions, some in-depth overview. And I'm just going to sit back and handle the comments and put up graphics and stuff like that. I'm going to let these two intelligent, exciting people go back and forth. Now, this is the last thing I'll say, and then I want to hear what your guys' take on it is. I got these two together because two reasons. Number one, they're both incredibly intelligent, knowledgeable people who are willing to speak on subjects, but they're dignified about it and they're polite. And they can have a negative opinion about something and it doesn't become the quote unquote fandom menace. And that's the thing that I've loved about you two guys since I met Bailey in person, and Brandon, you and I've got to know each other online. And second of all, you two are wicked smart and you're interested in this stuff.
It's because we wear glasses, you know.
That's a good point. I'd wear my glasses, but I look like my grandfather. I have readers. But anyway, so yeah.
That's how you know someone's smart.
Well, duh, right? Yeah, I should have known. But so, yeah, that's the deal. It's basically going to be a show, for lack of a better way to put it, a podcast. We're going to concentrate on just, breaking down these episodes. And I'm going to have the Brandalorian on, and I'm going to have, Bailey Organa from, Alderaan. It's going to be great.
I'm really excited because, and Paul and I have discussed this many times, is, and I love the toys too, but Paul was like, I just like to collect my helmets and toys, where you like to talk more theory and like speculation, and it's so true. Like, so this is going to be so liberating to like just be able to, spew my thoughts, if you will, and hopefully, help ease that. I cannot tell you, kid you not, Brandon, I'm still getting messages from people on social media to this day from that stream, from people saying it was so refreshing to hear someone talk Star Wars without being like condescending or disrespectful or just like, ugh, where we said something where it's like, wait, what? Because like I said, there are people out there who want they want to see Anakin killing younglings, okay? Right. And that, like I said, is like, what does that say about you as a person? But yeah, I've gotten so many messages from people saying thank you, and I just think with this show we're going to continue to do that. So I'm really excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I was really happy to see that you sent me a message saying that you were still getting messages, and it's awesome to know that you're still getting those. It was a lot of fun when we had that stream and people were, talking about how much they just loved that we were able to just geek out about Star Wars. And I think that that's what this show is really going to be. We're going to have points where, like, to be honest, I wasn't the most excited person when the Bad Batch.
Me either. I mean, as you probably tell from when that first video we did together with Paul and I, where I was just like, you know what? I don't know about this.
Yeah. And it was really funny because Paul messaged me and said, hey, I've got this idea. And before he even told me what it was, he was like, you can say no if you want. And as soon as he told me what it was, I was like, I was absolutely on board.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The moment he's like, yeah, you guys can like, I feel you guys would just do well, like, just rambling. And I'm like, that's all I needed to hear. It was just like, yes, I want someone to be able to bounce off back and forth. Cause I'm sure, Paul's knowledgeable, but I'm sure after a while he's like, I don't recall, or, I don't watch the cartoon, so I have no idea what she's referring to. So
thanks, Tez. Thanks, Tez. Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you say that, Bailey, because knowledgeable is always a subjective term, because the stuff that I have knowledge about is probably from the era before you two were born. And then it starts to get worse. I keep saying that, and I know, but I like to point it out because it's funny. And then there it gets less and less and less. And I'll be honest with you. I've watched some of the animation stuff. I've watched, a couple of the seasons of the Clone Wars and stuff like that, but I have a hard time. It doesn't hold me, even when the plot is good. So I don't know a whole lot about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're happy to help.
Yeah. Chris is wondering where you can get a shirt.
I think I'm going to have to start a merch store or something, because I can't afford to keep sending shirts to people for free. So my wife keeps looking at me like, that was 2 guns worth of shirts you just sent out. I'm like, I know. That's a slight exaggeration, because she might be watching. So love you, Sarah. No, but the other reason that I interviewed, the other reason I invited you to is because Bailey and you, Brandon, have a different outlook. You agree in a lot of places, but I'm really looking forward to the polite this. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, Bailey was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And Brandon's cheeks will turn red and go, but well, I liked that, and then you guys can talk back and forth about it. And we'll actually get a little bit of discourse, as opposed to 3 people on a screen going, that sucked, Phantom Menace, or it was awesome, So I think there'll be a lot of discourse between the two of you. One of these days, I'm going to get this camera thing down. It's not like a mirror, but, and I think that's going to be the, right. Yes. Sleeping. That's exactly how it works in my house. But that's the part that I'm looking for. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The PB&Ewok show.
That is so cute.
That sounds like a sandwich that you can get at Galaxy's Edge, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Can I have some of the IG-11?
Item.
Right. Yeah. I'll have a PB&Ewok and a glass of the IG-11 IPA. Thank you. Oh.
You know what? Disney's missing out. That's a missed opportunity right there, Tina.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know.
See, Tina knows, because I'm not as worried about Brandon as I am about Bailey.
I mean,
love you too, Bailey. Just kidding.
I keep it classy, You
do. Yeah, you do. I like to give you a hard time.
Hey, Smugglers Canyon.
Hey, Smugglers. I saw him on the Shabby Reynolds. I can't. Yeah.
I love this. I know nothing about the Black Bad Batch. Maybe we'll get people to watch the show.
Paul, yeah. So the good news, Christian, is Paul's not a part of this. If you, Brandon, now is the time when you should be showing the logo.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Great. This is why I'm hosting, Bailey. Yeah. So as you can see, if you kill the comment on there, Brandon,
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be the icon for the show. Bailey, you look. I love Leah's face in that picture. That's why I used it. She's like, "Can we go now?"
She's very expressive, and you know what? She really does live to her namesake. Like that is the same exact face Princess Leia had when she was confronted about the Death Star plans. And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it's like, I just said it.
That's my favorite thing. Bro. So when I saw the movie in the theater, it makes sense. Maybe she was doing something, but then they did Rogue One, and Darth Vader's literally standing there with his lightsaber watching him leave. And then 15 minutes later, she's like, what's that rap song? Wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. Wasn't me. Woman, I saw you.
And what's so funny is that's exactly, it was like, that's like his daughter, like she's like talking smack to dad and she doesn't even know it.
Sassing dad, yep.
That is, she's sassing dad. All right, Sleeping has to stop commenting because he's hilarious and I can't.
Worth of sugar, please.
Oh, so for those in the chat, really quick, why Sleeping is saying stuff like that, I'll just explain this really fast. My wife is a semi-pro competition shooter, and so she's got a lot of guns and stuff like that she gets for shooting, but that's why that comes up a lot. So, oh, and on a last note, I just wanted to put something out really fast. I don't know if a lot of people know this because the last time I said it, Bailey, it was a while ago, but Bailey and I are not related. We just happen to have the same last name. It's like Duran Duran. It's just a coincidence. So. I think they missed. I didn't miss it. Oh. That's a very poor impression of those two Muppets. But do you know what he's talking about? Do you guys know what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. Yeah. Those guys are awesome. But yeah. So I'm excited too. You guys, I don't get excited about much anymore because I'm old and crotchety and there's no rum in this room. So, but this is actually, I'm pretty excited about this. So
yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Three guns worth of sugar.
Guns worth of sugar.
You make it shine.
So uncivilized, as Obi-Wan would say.
Right? So uncivilized. So we can actually, if you guys would like, we can get into some of our predictions and our thoughts because although I think we've hinted at it, we haven't really talked about, or you two haven't really talked about what it is that you're either looking forward to or you're not looking forward to or stuff like that. You guys interested in doing that?
Yep. I actually have a couple banners.
Oh,
popped up. Yep.
I love Bad Bath Breakdown. Oh, 1 to 10. Oh God, Brandon, you're awesome. So I'm going to have you help me apparently, because you're more creative than I am when I go to host these. So Bailey, Brandon's leading me off, helping me be a host here on a 1 to 10 on the excitement scale. Cause I told him to program them in before we got here. Can you tell me where you're at?
5.
Cinco, huh?
I think I'm like dead in the middle because it's like I'm excited. I'm always excited for new Star Wars content, of course, but at the same time, there's like a little bit of anxiety as to like where they're gonna go with the story or how they treat certain characters and sometimes Filoni, I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm the first person to say it. Filoni just terrifies me sometimes with his choices. So,
do you have an example of just one of those choices real fast so we get an idea what you're talking about? What has he done where you're like, ow, man?
Barasafi being a terrorist.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah.
And like not following up on it whatsoever. That would be one. Or giving Jar Jar a romantic subplot. I mean, there's just a couple of that is true, Paul. Like that is an actual arc in the Clone Wars.
That's in the Clone Wars.
That's in the Clone Wars.
Okay, that's why I was like, I don't remember that from the movie at all.
Yeah, no. Or just the whole Ezra Bridger's lightsaber blaster abomination stapler. Oh. I can't like
stapler gun.
Stapler gun. Yeah.
I can't. I remember seeing that, and I was like, "You've got to be effing kidding me right now." So that's what I mean by like I'm a little nervous because like I'm not gonna lie, these people do amazing things with Star Wars. Okay, he's kept Ahsoka Tano alive. Like this man knows what he's doing, but at the same time, there have been choices made that I'm like, I don't know about that one, Dave.
Okay. And so that's got you limited at about a 5 right now. Like we talked about, a cautiously optimistic before, correct?
Cautiously, yeah, exactly. I mean, it can go up and down depending on, it's hard to say. The premiere is actually like over an hour, I think.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, it's like 70 something minutes.
Yeah, I think it's like 70. It's 72 or 79, I want to say.
Oh, well, this is going to be harder than I thought.
So, yeah.
Okay. Brandon, where are you at, brother? 1 to 10.
7.5 or an 8. And wow. I was initially at like a 5 for it, but when I saw the trailer and I saw the Emperor speaking and the Order 66 stuff, and then Tarkin being the one who's like, we need to hunt them down, that got me so much, it raised the bar quite a bit because it's in that little era that I like to see explored, the right after the Empire. And yeah. And then just each trailer, like this last one made me even more excited about it. And I don't know, I just think it's going to be fun to see A-Team in space.
I agree. I'm very happy that we're finally getting a story that takes place directly after the events of episode 3. That is something I'm like, it's about time, because I mean, 19 years between the greatest, I mean, this huge purge to A New Hope. I mean, that is a long period of time.
Yeah.
Right. And we've talked about this too. I have been fascinated with how they went from the Jedi are the good guys, here's the army of the Republic, to the Jedi are evil devils that had to be exterminated. Nobody knows about them anymore. The Force is a legend, and all of these troops are now bad guys. And I watched the trailers again last night so I could be prepared for this. And Bailey, you'd be proud of me. I watched episode 1 of season 7 of the Clone Wars. And I kind of owe you an apology, Bailey, and I'll tell you why. Because in the video we did, you're like, these guys just kind of came out of nowhere. They don't answer to anybody. I'm like, is Bailey just making that up? Or they got to answer to somebody? No, sure enough, they don't answer to anybody. They just show up out of nowhere. So I apologize. You're right.
I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, and that's like a response I see a lot of, where people are like, just watch the last 4 episodes. Season 7 could have just been a movie. They could have just done that last bit. But yeah, they literally do just come out of nowhere. And I just remember, I said this to Paul when I first watched it.
Sorry, I shouldn't put comments up.
I thought the same thing when I saw it. Like, what is going on here? See, that's what I mean by choices. That's what I mean by choices. It's choices that make me nervous.
And I'd watched it before, but you're going to find this hard to believe, Bailey. I was having a couple of beverages when I watched season 7, and it was on the balcony of a hotel in Idaho while we were on vacation. So for some reason, I thought the first 4 episodes of the season 7 were that Sisters Ahsoka arc, but that's later on, is it right?
The middle one.
It's like dead smack in the middle. And I'm telling you guys, don't it's 4 episodes of nothing.
I was so disappointed.
So bad. Like that was the one and only time in my life where I've watched like a Star Wars anything where I was on my phone because I was bored. And then I had to double check, am I watching the right thing? Like that's how much I don't like that middle section. Where I was like, when are we gonna get to Mandalore? That is what you all advertise. That is the only poster you can get, is that entire section. Where is it, Dave? Where is it? That's what I mean by choices.
Bailey, is that a strong table you have in front of you? Because you're about to high slot that thing into a piece. Yeah, okay.
I was like,
Brandon?
It's so maddening. I mean, that's it's so maddening. It's just like, you had an opportunity. You were given a chance to, they told you, what is it, 12 episodes or whatever it was, and they wasted 80% of it.
Yeah. Brandon, what's your take on season 7, brother? I mean, are you brave enough to go after that?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with the middle arc. Like, seeing Bo-Katan find Ahsoka and some of that stuff was cool, but just the whole spice. And I mean, it does tie into why the crime syndicates were with Maul and stuff, but it just was such a boring way to do it, I felt. And I wasn't excited about the first 4 episodes because I was like, let's just get to the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Like, I had read the Ahsoka book.
Yeah.
And I had read the Maul comic where they do Dooku and Grievous and Maul are all kind of doing the whole Mandalore thing, and I was just so excited for it that I was like, I didn't even give the Bad Batch a shot because I didn't see the unfinished episodes that they were taken from. So I was just like, these are very generic characters. They just, it's just going to be like a fun little thing. And then I went back recently and rewatched it, and I was just like, you know what, it is kind of fun. And I didn't give them the time of day when it was starting up because the first 4 episodes are so much better than the middle 4 episodes.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. Like, you kind of put a gun to my head, and I had a big one. It's going to be the first 4. And Brandon, I really like how you brought it up, how I think that's what happened to me too, is everyone, like, we know, like, okay, we are going to the events of Revenge of the Sith. Like,
Yeah.
And then, like, when you get started, you're like, wait, this seems like just a run-of-the-mill Clone Wars episode. We're beyond that now. We gotta, like, speed it up a little. So I think I feel kind of bad in that way, and that these characters were probably introduced at the wrong time, or maybe like that should have been introduced before. You know, Revenge of the Sith.
Let me ask you this, Bailey, because like I said, I rewatched the first episode last night, and sure enough, they came out of nowhere. But the characters each are very, very niche, like cliche. Like this one is like the dusky sniper, and this one's the big dumb brute, and this one's the hunter leader.
And you know how much I hate that trope. Like,
okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think of them being so tropey then?
Because that was kind of the problem I had with Rebels, is like the people on the Ghost crew were all some sort of trope, and Zeb was the one that annoyed me the most, because he was just, I'm the big strong guy, like I'm the muscle, and it's like, I hate that like so much. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's why I'm like kind of like, again, choices, but that's why I'm
Brandon?
like going into this with a 5, because it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I feel you sleeping. Brandon, what's your thoughts on them, the characters? Like the Rebels, I saw that in what Bailey was saying. Haven't watched all that either, but it seems to be like they dialed up the tropism, for lack of a better way to put it, on the Bad Batch guys to like 11. What do you think of that?
Well, and I think that's why, like, it's funny because I've seen little edits where they've done the Bad Batch as Space A-Team, and and it fits so perfectly. And they are supposed to be this silly, goofy, experimental group that the tropes are dialed up. And I think that's like the fun behind them. They're perfectly made to be making the figures out of. Like, and am I gonna get those? Yes.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, come on, man.
I mean, I'm mad about it, but I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do agree with, the tropes in, like you said, in Rebels. But I really liked Rebels. So I did, like, sometimes that just goes into the back of my brain because I like the family kind of feel about it all. So that's what I'm actually kind of hoping, is that we see less of the like individual characters standing out and more of them as a group.
Yeah.
So that's my thing about the characters, is hopefully we actually, because we already got their introduction. So if they do a similar introduction in this new season, it'll just be kind of like, well, yeah, we already know what they do. So let's see them actually working to get together right away to do stuff.
Well, let's put a finer point on that then, Brandon, because you had it up a second ago, just off of what you've seen in the trailers and what you know of the Bad Batch. And you can pick anyone. It doesn't have to be one of the clones. What's your favorite character from this show so far that you're looking forward to seeing?
Tarkin.
If I could hug you through the camera. Okay, why Tarkin? That's an interesting choice. I like it.
Saw Bailey's face.
Yeah, she got something to say. She'll say it in a second.
Well,
why Tarkin?
It's funny because I didn't even like think about them just kind of showing up and not being like organized by somebody. But I think that's totally going to be the role that Tarkin plays, just from seeing the trailer, is that he sees them and then has control over them, and then it switches over, and then he's going to be like, oh crap, now we have to get rid of them. And to me, Tarkin is always just, he's so badass, and he's just so, like, even when he was in the Clone Wars, you're just like, yeah, I know you're a good guy right now, but I can totally see that you're not a good guy. And I just want to see what they do with Tarkin in that. Now, if it's one of the members of the Bad Batch, I'm probably going to have to say Tech. I think he's the most unique of them, like when it comes to the look.
He's the nerd in the group. That's why we like him.
Yeah. I think, I didn't realize how different his get-up was until I saw the Black Series figure mock-up for him. And then, yeah, because I mean, Hunter is Space Rambo.
They hit you over the head with that too, don't they? It's like, oh my God.
I can clearly tell Bailey has something to say.
So Bailey, the question I have for you is the same.
If I was in the room with some of these people that put these shows together, I would just be like, my God.
Okay. So Bailey, what out of all the characters, and it doesn't have to be one of the Bad Batch members, what's the one that you're looking for?
I got really excited when I saw Captain Rex.
Oh,
Yeah, like we don't know what happened between the end of Clone Wars and seeing him again in Rebels. And so I always really enjoyed watching him from the Clone Wars. And, we don't really know how he and Ahsoka parted ways. So I'm very excited to see him work with these clones, especially since he's lost, his entire family, essentially. I think it will be really good for him to see, to work with, his brothers or help him out and rebel against the Empire in some way. And I'm also excited to see Fennec. So I'm more excited for the characters that we're already familiar with and them, making a cameo in there. I don't think I'm not choosing any of like the new characters because it's like all we've seen so far from the trailers is just pure tropes and I think that's not going to change until we see the show and we see their personalities develop. But as of now, I was excited to see Captain Rex. That was my favorite part of the latest trailer. And the kid, I don't know what they're doing. There are so many theories about that. Like, have you guys seen, like, is that a Palpatine clone? Like,
oh, the little blonde kid that they're talking to?
Do we even know if that's a boy or a girl? I see,
well, that's the thing. Okay, Brandon, you're good at this, man. Look at you.
Man,
wow. I'm not you hosting. I'm just get out of the way. Y'all don't need me. So that's the question I was going to have. I saw online because that's where I was going next, and Brandon can read my mind. This small blonde character, which people are surmising is some sort of clone. That's the Alpha and the Omega. So that would be the last clone that they made. First of all, who is that? What is their role going to be? And is that a boy or a girl? Because people are guessing online. Bailey, you go first this time. What do you think?
I have no idea. Because even I was like, okay, you can't even use like the voice because it's like a child, and sometimes boys and girls don't sound the same. And the name is very neutral too. And what really intrigued me was just how different. Like you could tell, like there's a little bit of Django in there, but like you got blonde hair. The skin is significantly lighter. So to me, that tells me that they mixed DNA. So I don't know. I mean, I hope it's not like a Palpatine Django clone. I don't know. I don't know what I would want.
That sounds dirty.
Like Palpatine going, I do want to live forever. How do I do that? Already disappointed in Vader to where he's like, yeah, no, I want to be in charge forever. But I don't know. Clones age quickly. So this kid was probably created during the Clone Wars. So I don't know. It's kind of up in the air for me.
Okay. Brandon, what are your thoughts on that Alpha Omega or the Omega clone?
I don't think it's going to be directly Palpatine related. Like I know some people are like, well, look at the blonde hair and look at the
hairdo.
the whatever it,
the poofy poof.
Yeah. But I think if you look at it, you can really see Django in it. But Rex has blonde hair, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
unless they dye their hair, I don't know.
Right.
I thought Rex's was dyed. If you want me to be honest.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Okay. Yeah. But I don't know if and they could get scientific about it, but I don't think they're going to, because it's like, was it the DNA like sample of it all breaking down so much by the time that they were doing it that they were like, okay, we're going to try to change up the clone just a little bit, and then they, it is hard to tell whether, you know, the Omega is male or female, and it, you know, did they figure out a way to swap it and stuff like that. And I think this is going to lead more into like the secrets of like the cloning, the dark science, the like only secrets only the Sith knew type thing, where I think they're going to make a big deal out of it, but we're not really going to get an answer from it. You know what I mean? I have a strong...
That would not surprise me one bit.
It'll just lead to more speculation. Like, was Omega this person that they, you know, tried to, you know, start an evolution of something, but then we won't actually figure out, and then it'll be more of the same like plot strand that didn't really go anywhere. But
here's what happened. We'll be left with an open-ended thing. Filoni will say he has great plans, and then it's never going to happen.
Wow.
I'm sorry. He said that about, you know, the end of The Wrong Jedi, and it's been like 12 years or something like that. I've got these great plans. I had season 7.
I should have. I've misnamed this show. I should have called it the Positive Negative Experience.
I'm just saying. Like,
I'm just kidding, Bailey. Hey, do you guys want to pause for a second? Because probably we've got some new people in here since we first started. Brandon, do you want to throw the logo back up and we'll just briefly make the announcement again? Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll be doing.
Oh, that's us. Oh, you lost your background. There we go.
So,
Brandon, you want to describe it?
Sure. So this is the logo that we will have. It's the Bad Batch breakdown. I'm not as good with alliteration as Paul is. He's got that nailed down. He's just boom, boom, boom. Bad Batch breakdown with Bailey and Brandon, hosted by Paul's Collectibles, because he's not cool and doesn't have a B in his name. But yeah, we'll be doing a breakdown of each episode of the Bad Batch season. So.
And I think the important thing to point out is we're going to be doing these on a Saturday. These things come out Thursday night at midnight. So there's a possibility, because we're not going to hold back. So if you haven't seen the episode and you don't want any spoilers, you probably, I'm telling people not to watch us. That's stupid. But just be aware that on Saturday, we're just going to lay it all out there. So there will be spoilers unless you guys disagree.
No.
I mean, when the Mandalorian episodes came out, I just didn't go on social media until I watched the episode because people are bad. I mean, it will be there.
Yeah.
And I'll give that warning at the beginning of each episode. Hey, we're talking about the latest episode of Bad Batch. There will be spoilers, because it's just, I mean, it's almost impossible to get any in-depth review of something without talking about some of the things that happened. So, but yeah. And I think Josh has a point. I think Omega is definitely a Greek letter. Josh, thanks for that. Yep. He's messing with me again, but I think I think it has something to do with being like the last clone or something.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yep. Yeah. What other? I don't want to step on your banners there, Brandon. What else did you have prepared?
Hey, Rebels, Reptiles, and Games. Let's see here.
Oh, and I saw Shabby was in earlier too.
Yeah. He was talking about your.
So, as an aside, Luke Reynolds from Reynolds Reviews.
Yep.
When he first started putting comments on my videos, was like, "They're so calm, they're so awesome, Paul. I just kick my feet up and have a beverage and watch you review, like your caramel voice." And now I'm like, every time I'm doing my videos, I'm like nervous because I'm like, I got to man up my voice a little bit or something. Oh, Christian, God loves me, and they just fell into my lap, metaphorically speaking, obviously. So yeah, I got lucky. This is something that I learned from in leadership years ago. Is you don't gotta be smart if you just surround yourself with smart people, and you look good too. So that's what I did.
I just have one more banner.
Okay, what you got, brother? Oh, Bailey, do you want to go first this time?
I definitely would love, since this is taking place immediately after Order 66, I would love to see any of the surviving Jedi even if it's just one episode, just to know like what they're up to immediately after the purge, because there are many of them that don't have complete endings. So that is something I would absolutely love to see. And then maybe I wonder if Vader is going to be in the show like at all.
That was going to be my follow-up question. So
because that would be fun to see too, or if they're going to just make Tarkin the main antagonist. But that's what I would love. I see, and that's, I just like anything that, stuff that we're already familiar with, you know, characters are, that's what made The Mandalorian so exciting, I think, is when you watch the next episode, like, oh, there's Ahsoka Tano, and then we have Bo-Katan next episode. Like, those are, that's the stuff I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping we get that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Bailey, if you don't mind, and I know you haven't minded before, but speaking of Ahsoka Tano, would you mind going like that very briefly so we can see? She didn't want to so badly she left, Brandon. Oh, there she goes. Oh. Look at that, you guys. That thing is coming along nicely, Bailey. Wow.
I know, right?
Look at that. That's crazy good.
Obi-Wan's next right there.
Wow. And so, Brandon, I don't know if you'll ever get a chance to meet Bailey, but she's a tiny little thing in person. Okay. She's just a little wisp of a, how they've managed to fit those characters on that tiny little arm is beyond me. So it looks good. Brandon, what's your cameo?
Micro portraits.
Oh, yeah. Micro portraits, of course. Brandon, what's your prediction as far as a cameo or something you'd like to see? Easter egg.
And it's kind of lame, but I would like to see the other clone commanders that we see in Rebels that are, you know, a little bit older. I'd like to see if they do something with them, like if the Bad Batch runs into them at all, and maybe the Bad Batch is like, you know, you are the guys that like they're gonna hunt down too because you're more like us. So it's that, because you got Commander Wolf, Gregor. Is that it? And Rex. I think
so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they mentioned that Rex finds them later. So I don't know if maybe we just see Gregor and Wolf. But the other one would be, as soon as I saw Fennec Shan in the first trailer, it's like, okay, are they going to heavily link it to the Book of Boba Fett? And are we going to see a younger Boba Fett make an appearance in this show as well? You know, maybe Tarkin hires Boba Fett to help track down the Bad Batch, because maybe, you know, when I saw Fennec in the Mandalorian, it almost seems like Boba and Fennec already know each other. Like it just the way that she's kind of like, you know, Boba Fett save me type thing, and it you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I wonder if Tarkin's going to bring in these other bounty hunters, mercenaries, and stuff to help them even further track down the Bad Batch when he's like, we got to go hunt these guys down.
So I wanted to ask you guys predictions, and both of you have kind of hinted at it. Brandon, you kind of put a finer point on it there. The arc of the show, and I think you kind of mentioned it a little bit. And Bailey, if you could speak to this first, what are you predicting is going to happen here? They're going to start out on our team, and then they're going to be the good guys because they realize the Empire's bad. Or what are you predicting their arc's going to be?
I feel like if we're going traditional Star Wars, I think one of them is going to betray them in some way.
Oh,
like
okay.
Somebody's going to go bad. You know, they'll all start like, Empire's bad, and screw this Tarkin guy, and one of them is gonna go dark, and maybe that becomes their undoing because we don't see them later down the line. So I think that's what's gonna happen, is someone's gonna betray someone. I mean, it's Star Wars, that's what happens. Somebody's gonna betray somebody.
Fair enough. Brandon, it sounds like you have a pretty good idea in your head of what you think the arc might be. You want to sum that up? I
think it's going to start, you know, with them, you know, figuring out what these guys are, where it's like, oh, how did we have these genetic mutations? What do we do with them? Because they don't have the chips in their head. Mm-hmm. And it's I want to see that they realize that they have this asset, and then I I think that's only going to be like the first episode. I think that first episode is going to be them, and then they might even do something where some time goes by, because it sounds like in season 7 of the Clone Wars that these guys have been, the Bad Batch has been working together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's if it fits well with the timeline of everything that they introduce them, and then it goes right into season 7 of the Clone Wars type thing, and then it goes to the fall of the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that we'll see some sort of time shift between those. But yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I've seen just from people catching things in the trailers, I've seen it, where they're like, oh, does that person, when they're running in a hallway and you count them and one of them's missing.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, there's one of those elite stormtroopers and he has one of the other members' guns. So did the character die, or is that character?
Oh, that your turn theory, like for Bailey, like put on new armor and join the other. Yeah, okay.
Yep. I've also seen the rumor that the one of the elite, the black stormtroopers, that honestly it looks like an evolution from the clone trooper armor into a death trooper.
Either that or a phantom, the black stormtroopers, one of those two. Yeah.
Yeah, the shadow
trooper.
Right?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen, people speculating that is Commander Cody leading that group.
Ooh.
And that's one of the things that I would really like to see, is if they do something with Commander Cody leading, a group of clones or, new troopers against these Bad Batch troopers.
Okay. That reminds me, because one of the things I'm concerned with in a positive and a negative fashion is how this Bad Batch series is going to tie in, or if at all tie into any of the other stories and shows that we're getting. So I have a question for you guys, and if either of you know the answer, just kind of pipe right in. Is Commander Cody in any fashion supposed to show up in the Obi-Wan series that's coming out?
I think people want to, but I don't think that's ever been discussed. Because I don't think the actor was part of that lineup.
Yeah, they haven't. I haven't seen anything mentioning Tamora Morrison, but I feel like they're starting to learn a little bit, because Tamora's involvement with the Mandalorian was leaked so far ahead of time that they were like, "Oh, he's a clone. He's Rex.
Yeah.
He's Cody. He's," and I mean,
that would be
Boba Fett. Yeah, go ahead, Bailey.
I'm sorry, Brandon.
No, you're good.
That would be interesting, because now that we brought up Cody's, I wonder if the Bad Batch is going to have conversations with these commanders, and they discuss like having to kill their Jedi. Like I wonder if it will explore that psyche of like, do they feel like that what they've done is wrong, or is that just programmed into them that like, yeah, I killed them and I'm part of the Empire now. I think that would be like really interesting. And you brought up Wolf, and that's interesting to me too, because I'm pretty sure he was the guy that stayed on Coruscant, right? That would work closely with Palpatine. I want to say he was part of the senatorial clone troopers.
Was that?
Or was he? It's not one of them worked closely with the Senate.
Wolf was Plo Koon's.
Oh, okay.
Was part of the Wolf Pack. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And something else you touched on, Brandon, that I don't know the answer to. That's why I'm asking. Is there a canon, either in a book or a movie or a TV show, reason why Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back looks at Boba Fett and says no disintegrations? Do we know specifically why he said that yet?
It's been alluded to that Boba's the one that flame throwered Luke's aunt and uncle.
That Boba did that?
Right?
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't heard that. That's something I've never heard.
In one of the comics, Boba Fett is tasked to, he's like, all I have is a name, Skywalker. And Boba goes to Tatooine and is like on the trail of Luke.
Bailey, does that sound familiar? Do you know about that?
No, my mind's officially blown.
Somebody in the chat. Somebody in the chat will absolutely let me know. But yeah,
and that was a comic book, Brandon. You said a comic book?
Yeah, I want to say.
Oh, okay. Because the reason why I asked that is I'm wondering if, because of the resurgence of Boba Fett and everybody was so excited, especially my generation who knew he was a badass, but now we know why, if they're going to have him in the Bad Batch, like you guys said, and he does do something that disintegrates somebody or something, and that's why Vader says that. I was wondering what you guys think of that. Is that a possibility?
That would be really interesting if they went down that road.
Because at this point, Boba Fett has been animated, even as a kid, for in the Clone, was it no Rebels, right?
Clone Wars.
Was it Clone Wars? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So they could continue to show his arc, and at some point in this Bad Batch thing, I'm going to say it because a lot of other people are saying it. They're worried it's going to be season 8 of the Clone Wars, but either way, you could transfer or pull some of those characters over and continue their arcs. Are you guys expecting to see anything like that, like from Boba or Darth Vader or something?
I mean, that would be the stuff that I would be interested in. Like, I know like everyone has each their own, but that's the stuff that I'm interested in. Characters that we already know and love, and whose stories we don't have a complete timeline for. That's the stuff I want to see.
Oh, okay.
Because with new characters, it can go, it can go in a positive direction or a negative direction.
Right.
Okay. Jar Jar Binks is a great example of that. Okay. A new character can either be taken, and I think that was an issue. I think that was an issue people had with the prequels, is when you're introduced to so many, and the people were only going into these projects like, I just want to know the rise of Darth Vader, not all this other stuff. I think that's probably part of the reason why people might not have enjoyed them as much the first time, is they wanted to know the people they already knew about.
Because Chris makes a good point here, and that's why I asked that. My generation was brought up to believe that it was there was apropos of nothing. He's just like, if I don't know you got him, you don't get the bounty. So don't disintegrate him if that's what you're planning on doing.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if they're going to expand on that, because they've taken, Rogue One's a good example of that. They took one little line and turned it into a whole movie. So everything like that is fair game now, where one little sentence can be a whole episode or something. Brandon, what are your thoughts on something like them doing something like that with Boba Fett or Darth Vader? You think that's going to happen?
And it was a popular fan theory that I had just kind of worked into headcanon.
You headcanon that into a cartoon, didn't you?
Boba, and that's what I was talking about. The Boba being one of my cameos that I'd like to see, is we're going to have the Book of Boba Fett. And when they talk about the Book of Boba Fett, they, it's made it seem like different chapters of Boba's story. So are we going to see one of those chapters in the Bad Batch to link it? Because Book of Boba Fett is not far away. And we've had the young Boba with Bosk and Aura Singh in the Clone Wars, where they do that heist stuff. And then young Boba, where he's trying to kill Mace Windu. But there's a lot of Boba that we haven't seen up to the point, where he escapes the Sarlacc. And, for the longest time, people, didn't realize how, and they didn't necessarily have a reason to see how badass Boba Fett was. But, and I was talking to Mark from Blue Harvest Vintage Toys about this. I didn't realize that within 5 years of Star Wars being out, he had only seen it twice, and it was in the movie theaters. Like, as a kid who grew up in 1995, where we had the VHS and stuff like that, he was saying that Star Wars was not easy to go and see in the movie theater.
I see what. Yeah, that's a good point. He's got a point.
So when he talks about it, he says the toys for most of us, that's the canon that we made was the toys. So even me with the prequels and seeing Jango Fett, we don't get to see Boba Fett do as much as Jango Fett did. And we didn't really even get to see that much of Jango Fett, but we absolutely knew that Jango Fett was a badass. So it's so if Boba is based off of Jango, we can pretty much assume that they were very similar. And so when we got to see Boba and people are like, oh, he's really cool. It's like, well, yeah, we've known that all along.
Right. Yeah.
But that would be something that I would, I think some people would probably complain and they'd be like, well, they're just trying to tie it in. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's good for them to tie those things in. Because I don't think you have Fennec in the Bad Batch unless she's part of the Book of Boba Fett now. Like, she is heavily tied to Boba Fett. And I think it would be a missed opportunity if they didn't do something.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't mind a little bit of fan service. I don't mind a little bit of crossovers, a little bit of universe building and stuff like that. I think that would be a great opportunity for them to kind of, Marvel Universe this just a little bit if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? Am I crazy?
Was.
Right. So Brandon, this question will start with you this time. What's the one thing you're dreading? Like, you're worried they're going to do, and it's just going to be like, oh, I can't sit through this if they're going to do that. That's coming up in this Bad Batch series. Or do you have anything? Or you're just Brandon apprenticing Ewok into this thing? Like, I'm just going to keep an open mind.
I really am worried that they're not going to spend enough time, like Nate said earlier, that I'm worried that they're going to focus too much time on the tropes and the team building rather than letting the characters themselves and like the emotional connections that they have. The Bad Batch itself seems like, Space A-Team. It's probably going to be a little bit more actiony, a little bit goofier, but that's what I'm worried about, is that I think that it might not be emotional enough. We get with Rebels and Clone Wars sometimes, because like the last couple episodes of Clone Wars hit pretty heavy, and the last couple scenes hit pretty heavy. And I feel like with this show they might get away from that just because the nature of it, but hopefully that's not the case. So that's my one concern.
Bailey, I know you have a concern or two. Let's hear it.
I mean, now, don't get me wrong, I did like Rebels, but the one thing I am just hoping they will not do with this show is I don't want to see Space Scooby-Doo. I want everything they do to have an impact in the greater story. I don't want Scooby-Doo hijinks. If I wanted that, I would watch Scooby-Doo. I want everything they do to have intention. I want them to have an impact into what's going on. Because sometimes when you watch Rebels, you're like, well, knowing how, in the grand scheme of things, every time they were successful in a mission, well, the Empire was still up and running, for many years to come. So everything they did.
And Tarkin was like, we'd have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling rebels.
Yeah, and that blaster lightsaber. But I don't want that. I don't want that. I want this to have like a Mandalorian feel where it's like every episode is worth watching. Because with Rebels, I think I could say I could tell you these are the episodes I would watch again, like Vader versus Ahsoka, or Maul coming back into the picture. But there are many fillers, and I don't want fillers. Okay, if we're gonna have these long run times, make it worth the runtime. That's just me, though.
I think that's an incredibly valid concern, because the thing you mentioned the thing about The Mandalorian is they were standalone episodes. They got a little crazy with the "I'll trade you this favor for that favor" thing.
Yeah, the little side quests.
Right. Yeah, it's like watching a video game. Yeah, but anyway, they had little arcs that they could wrap up in like one, maybe two episodes. But then the outlying thing was going on in the background the whole time. And I'm hoping, just like you said, that this doesn't turn into a Scooby-Doo cartoon with hijinks and, today we made Tarkin look like a goofball. So I agree that that's a possibility. And Chris makes an excellent point too. Yeah.
Yeah. he doesn't want Omega to be a Force user, and I would agree with that.
Mm-mm. I'm a huge believer in we got to keep the Force like a mystical thing, you know.
Right.
You can't abuse that.
Part of it might become an escort mission to keep Omega safe from the Empire. Probably Palpatine is like, ooh, they figured out something different with this clone. How can I use that in my research? And the Bad Batch is probably going to try to protect Omega.
And because for me, nobody cares about my predictions because I'm stupid, but I think they're going to start off on the side of the Empire, and then something is going to have to cause them, because you see scenes of them flying around without their armor on stuff. I think they're going to have to switch to the other side, whatever that the good guy side. And that Omega theory, that's as good a one as any, when they realize, oh crap, we can't let these maniacal, tyrannists have this kid. Maybe that's one of the things that happens. Would you be cool with something like that, Bailey?
Oh yeah. I mean, just make it interesting. Seriously, like just have it tie into the story. I don't want just like fan fiction, I'm sorry.
Right. So here's what we need to do too.
Everyone is showing. I agree. And you know what, Luke, I would definitely say that if Grogu was not in that show, I would be interested to know how popular feeding that does like it owes her money. More like I'm telling you, like very strong feelings.
Bailey's she's just passionate. She's passionate about her craft and her end. Yeah, exactly. You see, I'm telling you
guys, like I'm really tiny. I'm 5'2", like 100 pounds wet. This table's fine.
I've got dogs as big as Bailey, for goodness sakes. But I think that's an excellent point that G-Force brings up, though. And I, keep touting my own horn for being smarter. But this is why I put the two of you together in a show. Because, Brandon, if you ain't the smoothest, calmest, don't get riled up guy I've ever seen, with like a lot going on in there. And Bailey's the same way, but just more, she, beats desks and, and gets more emotional. So I think it's going to be, we're going to have a good time, and so I think that.
Are you saying we have an Obi-Wan Anakin like dynamic here?
I don't know. Is that going to get me punched when you show up? Because if so, then no, I'm not saying that at all. But if not, then yeah, I think you guys are two sides of the same coin, if you want to put it that way, to use a cliche.
Young Kanan Jarrus, possibly.
Oh man. So let me ask you a question. How many episodes of this show are there going to be? Do you guys know, or do you have a prediction?
We were trying to look it up that one day when we were figuring out how long it would go, and I still haven't seen an episode number count.
Because I don't think it's going to be like really, really long, like the Clone Wars, right? I mean, it's probably just going to be like one season.
No, I'd say it would probably be anywhere from 10 to 16. It might be around that 12.
It might be
where the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Like that's going to be the summer show, and then they're going to have Boba Fett in the fall winter.
Oh, that's right, because Boba Fett comes out in December.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
They want to give us a break.
Yeah. Fair enough. So they theoretically, we're mostly in agreement in that they're going to have a limited amount of time to tell a reasonable story. So unless they just get crazy, they're not going to be able to jam a whole bunch of original trilogy or prequel era characters in there, right?
Yeah. Right.
We haven't seen Brandon play really nice.
I quit playing it.
I can't
do it.
I watched you just go.
Little episodes of the last Clone Wars season. I give up.
So Brandon is a very large, very capable individual who, if you know him well, is obviously a strong-willed, strong personality, plays football, stuff like that. Scared of a face hugger on a video game.
That would scare me too.
And it's funny because I want to get one of the life-size face hugger things that like one of the guys I watch, one of our friends, Aaron, he has a life-size face hugger behind him, and that doesn't scare me. And watching the movies, they don't scare me. It's something about the video game, but yeah.
Because you're
So-
involved. That's
There you go.
different.
I'll tell you what else doesn't help is you're wearing headphones while you're playing him. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah,
Oh,
I can't wear
Yeah.
headphones and play video games because it's too much. Yeah. I'm like, I'm right here. Yeah. So I feel you.
How many
Oh.
episodes until we see a lightsaber? Hopefully none.
Oh, wow.
And
But if
this
we
is coming
see-
from a pro Jedi. I love
Yeah.
my space wizards. I hope none.
But what if we see the Jedi with those?
Would they use
Clones.
their lightsaber though?
They might. We might see some flashback stuff to Order 66.
Yeah, if it's like a flashback, but I just would think. I don't know. Then again, I think of Obi-Wan just in A New Hope. He had no problem busting out his lightsaber in the cantina. So I don't know. Maybe they have no fear, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see flashbacks of when everyone was alive and, you know,
Yeah.
I
So-
don't know.
Are you gonna? Let's go on record right now. I'm gonna remember this stuff. Actually, this is saved for posterity, so I can go back and check.
It's all.
Yeah. So here it is, right here, right now. Brandon, when? Yeah, that's nasty. You guys are mean. When do we see the first ignited lightsaber used in this Bad Batch series? What episode?
Episode 1 within the first 30 minutes.
Whoa, that's pretty specific. And Bailey, I know you're hoping for none, but what's your
If it
prediction?
happens, I feel like they would pull that at the very end.
At the very end.
Yeah.
So you're saying last episode is
Like
when we
a
see the first
cliffhanger. Maybe they don't know if they were going to continue, if this is just going to be a one-shot show or not.
Okay. So Brandon saying the beginning of the first episode, Bailey saying right at the end of the last episode. You guys see, couldn't get further apart. Okay. Next prediction wager saved for posterity. What is the gender, sex, if you will, of Omega? Brandon?
Female.
Bailey?
Female.
Okay. So you guys are in agreement on this one. Yes or no? Do we see Boba Fett in his green armor? Brandon?
Not in his green armor.
But how then?
In an in-between of the Django armor and the Boba armor.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's kind of transit. That's not a right word to use. I shouldn't say that. So it's he's moving the colors over from where they were to the green.
Mhm.
So kind of a mishmash. Is that what you're saying,
He's
Brandon?
slowly becoming his own person.
Yep.
Got it. Bailey, do we yes or no see Boba Fett in his finished green armor in this series?
I would have to go with Brandon there. I think it would be like an in-between.
Okay. So he's starting to he's using his daddy's armor, but he's starting to personalize it for himself, and
Right.
consequently some of it's green. Okay.
Kind of like how
Right.
Luke took Anakin's lightsaber a little bit before he made his own. Like it's like they carry with that a little bit and then they become their own person.
Okay. Bailey, yes or no? Do we see Darth Vader?
I hope so. I really do. I hope so.
So is that a yes? We will see him.
I think yes, just because like Vader is the enforcer of the Empire. I think we won't see like Palpatine as much. I think we'll only see like the Order 66 stuff, but he's just gonna be like non-existent. I think, but then again, I don't know. Does Tarkin answer to Vader or no?
Well, there you go. So I actually can weigh in on this. I've read the Tarkin book and I've read the Vader books as he just became Vader. They were kind of on equal footing. They respected each other, and in certain circumstances, Tarkin would do what Vader said, and sometimes, like in A New Hope, Vader would do what Tarkin said. Is that you agree with that, Brandon? Does that sound right?
Well, and from what I've read, it seems like Tarkin is even a little step above him because there's one where Vader and Tarkin kind of hunt each other.
Yep.
And it's absolutely brutal. And I mean, in A New Hope, Vader's Tarkin's bitch. Like,
You know what's really messed up is how involved Tarkin was in the Ahsoka Tano trial. So there was already like that resentment.
yeah,
So
Wow.
Yep.
You have a slightly different opinion on that than I do. Bitch, damn.
I guess in that case, probably not. If Tarkin's going to be like the main antagonist and he doesn't answer to Vader, then maybe not.
So, Brandon, what's your prediction on that? Yes or no Vader in this series?
I'd say yes, and it'll be similar to what we saw with Rebels, where that first season of Rebels goes by, and then you see the like hologram and then the ship opening and it's Vader, and you're like, oh crap, it's gonna get real.
Okay. Next question. We know Fennec Shand is in this, and we know that Ming-Na Wen, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, is voicing her again, which I think is awesome. What team or what role is Fennec Shand going to play in this? What's your guys' predictions? Brandon, you go first this time.
I think hired to help track the Bad Batch down.
So Bailey, you agree with that 100%?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. And then we're a little over an hour, Brandon. We can go as long as you guys want, but I have one more question, and then if you do whenever you want to shut it down. What that's a pretty close. What is going to be the biggest surprise? Like everybody's going to be like, "Oh no, are you serious?" Even if it happens right at the end in the Bad Batch. Bailey, what do you think? How are they going to smack us? How are they going to do the freaking Dave Filoni backhand on us and be like, "Oh my," either good or bad?
Oh wow. Nothing's coming to my mind right now.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of buffoonery he can do.
It's so wide open. Anything could happen, right?
God, yeah.
Parking.
Tarkin and Vader are kind.
Oh, okay. Parking invader. I was like, I didn't see that. Is that episode?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of equals Tarkin is higher in the Empire, knows that Vader is. Yeah. So I thought they were kind of equals as well. Depending on what was going on, one was in charge and one wasn't. Because they didn't send Tarkin to go chase down Jedi, and they didn't send Vader to go run the Death Star. So they kind of deferred.
Yeah. And like Tina mentions, the Emperor's right hand, but at the same time, I think the Emperor knew how to use Vader for his intimidation and the brutalness, but Tarkin was the mind and the strategic, with, in a similar fashion as Thrawn.
And then after the destruction of the Death Star, as you can see in Empire Strikes Back, Vader takes a much more active role in the actual military. He's like he actually becomes the Lord of the military. So, Brandon, I didn't get to you. What's the shock, the big, oh my God moment that's going to happen in the Bad Batch? Do you have any predictions on that?
I want to say we'll see a member of the Bad Batch killed, and I honestly think the shock will be that Commander Cody is one of them leading against the Bad Batch.
Yeah. So if I can weigh in on this, I think some of our beloved characters, no offense, Billy, Cody, maybe one of the commanders that we haven't seen lately, Wolf, one of those guys, ends up doing something horrible on behalf of the Empire because he believes in, and it's just terrible, like kills Omega or something like that. Yeah, Brandon, that's uncharacteristic of you, by the way.
Have you watched me play video games?
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I've had it on in the background a little bit, and I felt for it. Oh my God, Brandon, do you want to throw that graphic up there one more time?
Yeah.
And then Bailey, it's your turn to explain what the heck we're doing here. Starting our first episode, you guys. We may do a pre-episode, but our first episode should theoretically be May 8th then.
Yeah.
Because the first episode of the show is 4 and 7. So our definite first episode is the 8th. We may do a pre-show as well. But Bailey, what are we doing here?
Basically, we're going to do just an after show, if you will, of the Bad Batch. Brandon and I will just be discussing, what happens in each episode, what are our thoughts, what do we think, just really no different than this, but we'll have, an episode to talk about. It's just going to be us, going back and forth, and Paul just refereeing, I guess.
Well, if Brandon's going to run around calling everybody's bitch, I'm going to have to get in there. So,
Yeah. So what? Yeah. Who's more aggressive, my table slamming or?
I was refreshed to see the passion. from both of you guys. Brandon's calling people bitch. Bailey's beating up her furniture. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, my little baby hits.
Right. Yeah. Smirking Bear. I think that's exactly it. And it's that sacrifice is going to be enacted by someone we love and that we are never expected to see that have happened. Wouldn't it be great if, what do you call him? The kid from Rebels. Help me out here, Bailey. What's the word you use from? Yeah, space. What do you call Ezra?
Space Aladdin.
Yeah, Space Aladdin. I don't think the timeline is correct, but yeah, I was going to say I don't think the timeline is correct, but that would be funny if Space Aladdin came back through that time warp thing that he did.
That's when I turned the TV off. Okay. In the timeline, he would be like an infant, so it wouldn't make sense.
Right, but he's in a time warp thing as of the end of Rebels, is he not?
No.
Didn't that world between worlds doesn't it go between time?
He closed it.
He visited that, but then he's in like the unknown regions with Thrawn was the last time we saw him. That's where he warped with Thrawn. Yep.
Oh, okay. So we know that he got back out of that thing. So theoretically he couldn't get back in. Okay. All right. See, this is why I have you guys, because I know just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, he had to close it forever because Palpatine was going to use it, because whoever has control of all time and space, that's no good, no bueno. So
see, Bailey lives in Arizona, so her Spanish is perfect.
3 years Spanish. Okay.
Right? Yeah. Nice. Brandon, did I miss anything? Final thoughts, man. What do you think?
I wanted to get to a couple of these little thoughts in the chat, and Chris is asking if we have ever seen the Alpha clone, and I am going to say that Boba is the unaltered Alpha clone, because you think it would be harder to reverse engineer it to where they are unaltered rather than to have the sped up growth. So I believe that Boba is the original clone.
That would make the most sense.
Don't put Captain Commander Wolf to this. He's my favorite clone. Right? Yes. Well, Bailey will point out to you very quickly that Filoni capable of anything. Am I right, Bailey?
He frightens me. I would, you know what? And, I'm not by any means, I'm not disregarding all the good he's done for Star Wars. I'm just saying no one's perfect. No one is a god of Star Wars. I just always think, nobody's perfect. And I just think of the Inquisitors using their lightsabers as, a helicopter. And I'm like, you know what I'm talking about? How they would fly away. In Rebels, they would fly away.
Oh, yeah, I did see. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like a helicopter. That's when no one's perfect. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I think that's why you have to have a big team of people to kind of check each other instead of having just one person run it. Yeah, seriously. And I'm sure that happened a lot in Mando between John and Dave. No, because they're very different personalities.
You saw the behind the scenes. They actually filmed them having tete-a-tetes, and one of them go, "No, we're not. That's stupid. We're not saying that." Because at some point, didn't they want one of the characters to go McClunky? Yeah,
yeah.
And he's like, "No, that's dumb. We're not doing that."
Yeah, Dave wanted him to have him say McClunky, and John's like,
"No, we're not doing that." And I think that's Bailey. That's a very valid point, and I like that you say that, because even the Lord of Star Wars himself, George Lucas, love him to death, came up with all this stuff when left to his own devices. And the prequels are good, but I didn't need 2 hours of politics either. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you always need somebody to bounce ideas off.
Exactly. And I think the thing is George made a universe that's too big for one person to handle.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, yes, he is the source. He is the guy that came up with all of it. But I think when it comes to his hat of secrets, his hat of lies, if I ever met that man, I would want to wear a bigger hat to assert my dominance.
This is not going to be any fun. I don't want to do this anymore with you guys.
I'm just saying.
The hat of dominance.
The hat of I'm just saying, And I think that's the problem. And I think that's why we see these goofs is because, okay, this is one person's mind. We need to have people checking the other. And I'm not saying all my ideas are perfect either. That's why this is good. Like to have like, this is what I think would happen. You need that back and forth. And I think that's the problem. And I think they also need a lady up there so they know how to write women. Instead of just killing them or making it tragic.
Or turning them into terrorists or using them as cadaver bait and stuff. Yeah.
Absolute no context whatsoever. I can like see that conversation. Okay. We need to put some shock value in here. I know. Let's just take the one other friend Ahsoka has.
Well, this is a very good segue for a question that I have for you guys. Hold on. There we go. Who is writing this? Is it just one person or two, or is it a bunch of different people writing a bunch of different episodes, or do we know?
It's animated, so this is Filoni's arena. So I'm not sure who the writers are.
Brandon, are you looking that up? Is that what you're clicking on over there? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that should give us some insight.
Created by Dave Filoni. Written by Jennifer Corbett. Directed by Brad Rao. And executive producer Dave Filoni. Athena Portillo, Brad Rao, and Jennifer Corbett.
Okay, well, we heard one positive in there. This is going to get me in trouble. I didn't hear Kathleen Kennedy's name anywhere in there. She's not trying to get her fingers in here. Yeah, so that's, and I'm sure she's a wonderful human being and is doing wonderful things. And we're not negative on this show.
Like, we're not bashing any of these people that are making this stuff happen. It's just, we're just pointing out that no one's perfect.
Right. I haven't been a big fan of her ideas and her direction. No. I'm sure she's a brilliant person, but I didn't hear her name in there. So we'll see.
Hey, the Goopa.
Hey, Goopa. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by.
Well, and that's the nice thing is I feel like with the people that they've put in place now for the projects, they've realized how to put Star Wars fans behind the behind the wheel of Star Wars projects.
Yeah.
So they can take a step back and basically watch them make the money for them without having to make the decisions.
So there's another question I have for you. I saw a video, I think it was Retro Blasting, where he said basically they opened a fire hose recently. Hey, Scuba Pete! I got all excited. Scuba Pete! They opened up a fire hose basically of all these new shows. And you know how they are. They're notorious for canceling and pulling stuff back. If Bad Batch does poorly or doesn't meet expectations, what do you think the chances are that it's going to affect other shows down the line being either pulled or shelved or whatever? Bailey, do you have a thought on that?
I really hope that if it did go in that direction, I don't want it to end Star Wars animation. That would be disappointing because then if that happens, then we're going to go into it absolutely has to be live action for it to be good. Right. And I don't think that's the case at all. That's one of the beautiful things about Star Wars is there's so many mediums to enjoy it. And I love the animation. I mean, the animation in the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, so good. It is beautiful. Cinematic, like I love it. And especially in that final scene, that stuff is good. So if it goes down, what I'm afraid will happen is we're done with animation. We're just going to stick to these live action shows. And I don't want that to happen. But then again, I don't think there was another animated thing that was coming up. I think the majority of it was all live action anyway. So I don't know. But I think that would definitely alter their decision making when they decide to, start brainstorming ideas is if we're going to do it, it's not going to be animated.
Isn't the droids situation, isn't that animated? That new droid thing that's coming up?
From what it sounded like, it's going to be not animated, but more CG. Like, I don't know. It seems like the way that they described it was very, very weird. It was like a mix of practical and CG type stuff.
So, Brandon, what's your thought on that, though? And specifically, I'm glad Bailey brought that up because a lot of this stuff is live action. And I'm pretty excited for that because I'm hoping they're as good as The Mandalorian. But if this Bad Batch thing just tanks and the same YouTube channels that we all know but we won't name are just flaming it, do you think that's going to affect the live action stuff that's coming down the road and they'll pull it? Or what do you think, Brandon?
No, because I feel like it's different enough. And the fact that season 7 of the Clone Wars was so big, I feel like it's more about the stories than it is about the projects doing well necessarily. Mm-hmm. I think if the show does okay, but it does what it's supposed to do, I don't think there's going to be any issues.
Okay.
I mean, you look at what we get Black Series figures of and stuff like that. For them to do a whole lineup of the Bad Batch, they're going to put some resources into that. And for them to put the resources into these characters versus characters that arguably more people would want, gives me a little bit of hope. And it might just be because they look cool. And that honestly might be a positive for the show, is that these characters are pretty cool designs and they can be pretty marketable. They do have the animated Visions coming up, but it's the anime style with the different creators doing, like they said, it would be Star Wars from a different, we'd see certain events from a different kind of like from a certain point of view. But I feel like that's a different enough project where if Bad Batch doesn't do well, that would be perfectly fine. And I feel like that's what I'm worried about, though, Bailey, is that they've already made the Rebels characters so important by having Ahsoka with the Grand Admiral Thrawn that it sounds like, and it's been heavily rumored by pretty reputable sources, that the Rebels sequel series is going to be live action and not animated. And that was a bummer for me.
Yeah, that is, and this is a whole other discussion, but that is what I don't want the Ahsoka show to be. I don't want it to be a Rebels sequel with Ahsoka's name on it. Like, that is what I'm concerned about. If they're going to do it, it needs to be its own separate thing. Yeah.
And we might get some Rebels characters in the Ahsoka show. I'm guessing we might see Sabine in the Ahsoka show because she's the one that was with Ahsoka trying to find Ezra. I'm guessing Zeb. We won't see Kanan.
Kanan won't see either.
Well, that's also a rule. And sorry, guys, spoiler. But if you're the mentor, you're gonna die. Yeah, so he won't be there. It's true.
Bailey has a problem with father figures, I see.
Father and well, depending on the master, it could be a father or mother issue.
Right. I think Pete makes a good point there. Because that was going to be my next question. I think, frankly, I'm glad that they've started off, because Mandalorian, nobody knew what that was going to be like. Nobody knew what it was going to be about, and they just, between the military martial action and the lovable Grogu, at least for the first 2 seasons, they've knocked it out of the park. I'm glad to see that they're going to start back out with something animated, because animated is easy and fun to do. It appeals to a wide audience, especially if it's not like really cartoony. So my prediction is this show is actually going to do really well, and it'll be a nice way to kind of ease back into being a little bit more experimental and stuff like that. Do you think the show is going to do well, Bailey? I know you're not super excited for it, but do you think it's going to do well?
I think it's going to do what it's supposed to do. I don't think it's going to be like Mandalorian type popularity just because of the medium. Like I said, I think there's a huge stigma when it comes to live action over animation. Like, live action is it's going to go to a wider audience. I think it will do well, but it's not going to be like this. It's not going to be like Clone Wars level. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to have that same like following, if you will. I think it's going to do its job. It's going to tell a story, and that will be it.
Brandon, what do you think? Is it gonna do well?
And it's tough because I try to listen around when stuff like this comes out around the school that I work in, just to see if any of the other, like, any kids know what's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like they don't with this.
I have two that I know that are super Star Wars geek, like super Star Wars geeky kids, and they can, like, they can see something and they'll be like, oh, that's this star fighter and this is the designation and blah blah blah, and it's like, oh my gosh, how do you know that? Like they not just like the name of the ship, but like the model number type thing. It's like, oh my god, and they can tell the different star destroyers and stuff apart. So those kids know that this is coming out. But it, you kind of listen to it because, like, kids were excited for Raya the Last Dragon and stuff like that, and Godzilla versus Kong, but I'm keeping my ears open for if any of the kids, because when I help the kids get on and off the buses in the morning too, and I have a couple of them that they know I like Star Wars, and they'd be like, did you watch The Mandalorian? I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, how did you watch it? It came out last night. Like, I was like, I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch it. And they're like, my parents won't let me do that. So I'm hoping that I hear some of the kids asking me about the Bad Batch, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But the thing that might help with that, but it's sad because the state of toys is maybe the toys would help, because the kids are going to see these, but no, because you can't even get them.
Because you don't see them anywhere. You have to go searching for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey, are any of your kids talking about this at all?
No. Honestly, and I don't know if Brandon could agree with this too, but in my experience being in education, these kids know, their knowledge of Star Wars is The Mandalorian. It is very rare that I have a kid come up and they know who Luke Skywalker is. They'll look at my arm and they'll have no idea who those people are.
Wow.
And so, like, they'll look at it and they'll enjoy it and they'll be like, oh, I love your tattoo. It's so pretty, yada, yada. But they could not tell me who they are. But they will know Baby Yoda. They'll tell me, is that my favorite character? And I say, absolutely not. But
doesn't even make the top 100.
No. And I mean, he's cute. I don't want to offend anybody, but like, he wasn't the appeal of the show for me. So, but that's what the kids know. That's all they know, and it's like, oh my god, like. And I see them wear the shirts. Like, I see them wear Darth Vader shirts or Luke Skywalker. They don't know what it is. They think it looks cool. I'll ask them.
I think that's not. You know what? That harkens back to Brandon's point. That's more than a coincidence that every Target, every Walmart I go into, there's dozens of those different size plush Grogus and things like that. And so they see that. And do you think that's helping make that more of the lexicon for them?
No, it's kind of, for me.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, like, that's why it's helping keep it in their mind is what I mean.
Keep it in their mind, but it's kind of like, it's painful when it's like, when they're like, have you seen The Mandalorian? No, I have not. I have no idea what you're talking about. Or like my bag, Paul's seen my backpack. It's it has all the posters of all the movies. The kids look at that, and they have no idea what's on there. They'll recognize like R2-D2 or something, but that's it. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just around sheltered kids or what, but like I've heard no conversations with the Bad Batch. I think the Bad Batch is going to have a very limited audience at first, and maybe it will catch on later down the road. As Brandon said, when they're releasing all these toys and they get curious about it, or they're bored during their summer break and they stumble on it. But I think initially it's like, if you're not a hardcore fan, this is not in your realm of things to watch. And
Brandon,
honestly,
what were you going to say?
probably wouldn't be in mine either.
What were you going to say, Brendan?
I think Chris is, bringing up a good point. Is that how do you promote it since
Mhm.
it's going to be Disney Plus, and the kids aren't going to see the toys in the stores because the adults are taking them, and the adults are scalping them, and it's been so weird with how they've been releasing stuff. And I get why they did it, because it's like you've got a little bit of break from Star Wars stuff, and then you've got the Bad Batch. Then you've got, so basically right now the slate has been Star Wars, Marvel, and then it'll be Star Wars. And it almost feels like when they're doing that, they're doing it a little bit too far apart, because if they would have done the Bad Batch closer to the Clone Wars season 7, but then they wouldn't want it to run into the Mandalorian. And obviously the Mandalorian is going to be the big show, but for the success of this show, I feel like it had to be closer to season 7 of the Clone Wars. So any of them that did watch the Clone Wars still had that fresh in their brains. Like the kids that might watch this, and I honestly feel like this show is more for us. It's more for the people who are already connected, because so many of them, like you said, Bailey, it's so many of them. The Mandalorian and Rise of Skywalker is pretty much what has been out. Last Jedi, what has been out,
right?
That they'd remember. So they probably haven't seen all of the Clone Wars, and there might be some kids that have, but it
maybe now because of the Mandalorian.
Right.
But like, go look at Ahsoka Tano and like Lady from Mandalorian. Like, that's so, yeah, that's very like, unless their parents are like us, they're gonna have like no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. That's an interesting perspective.
Oh my god, this guy! I love that line so much, because when you think about it, it is so ridiculous. There are 3 Jedi Masters on that one planet. You got Quinlan Voss, Yoda, and Luminara. Yoda's the only one that makes it out alive. Like, I want to know what was going on Kashyyyk that required all 3 of them to be there. And if he was so wild about the Wookiees, he should have been there then.
Yeah.
I think my one of my favorite things about being on these streams with Bailey is like it's just there's just a button every now and then you just put boom.
Well, when you sent that video, I saw that thumbnail and I was like, no.
Right.
Like, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah, and so that's I've seen a lot of other people's prognostication and things like that, and I wanted to get your guys' perspective, and I think we hit that really well on a lot of these questions. So
yeah. And Jada,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go.
I was gonna say, it's there are lots of Star Wars fans that don't watch the animation part of it, and I always recommend it. And I even, if there are friends or family that I know that want to get some of the bits of the story, like my uncle who grew up with Star Wars, he was like, should I watch Rebels? And he's watching it now. But I was like, if you want me to, I can send you a list of like the episodes that actually like have important story bits and everything, where you can pick up the ideas and like the Maul returning, the
non-Scooby-Doo stuff.
Yeah, and
the non-filler.
A lot of that stuff. I mean, we do get little tiny moments, even if it's just 1 or 2 moments with those characters. But eventually, those moments add up, and that's why we appreciate the connection with Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, and all those characters that do get a little bit more time to develop, even if it might just be like a throwaway line here or a throwaway line there. You're like, oh, they do care for each other like this, they, and that's why I appreciate the Clone Wars. And a lot of it does, Rural Farm Boy said earlier, I don't like to use filler because like he said, it's almost insulting to the people who did the creating for it. But at the same time, it doesn't do as much to advance the story. It's interactions. But I absolutely get that. And I know family members that love to talk Star Wars with me, and they'll have me fill them in, but they won't they won't spend the time to watch the animated stuff, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. I've only watched the animated stuff just for lack of anything else to watch. To be perfect, I mean, I've never been a huge animated guy, so that's how I know as much as I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Force, I feel you.
I was gonna say.
But yeah. What were you gonna say, Bailey?
Oh, I just wanted to, because I didn't know if we were gonna talk about. So Paul sent us, something for Brandon and I to watch, which was, discussing a theory of something that might occur in the show, and I just wanted to kind of debunk that. And I say debunk because, like, Filoni himself has said it. But if Barasafi were to return, she would not be an Inquisitor or a Sith. And he said it, and I have a friend who's like looking for that exact panel because it was when Fallen Order came out, and people were speculating the second sister to be Barriss because we don't know what happened to her, and he said no, like Barriss would never become a Sith or an Inquisitor. That's not in her character. She is the reverse Anakin, where she did something wrong with good intentions, but the difference between her and Anakin is that she's like, oh no, I messed up, and she would like redeem herself. Like there is good in her. So if she were to return, it would not be in that fashion at all. She would never be a Sith. She may have used the dark side, but she didn't commit to it like Anakin did. An Inquisitor, and also kind of just, Inquisitors were not meant to be these all-powerful beings. They're supposed to be these kind of indispensable, like people who would never overpower. Yeah, tools. They would never. Yeah. They're not strong enough they would never overpower Palpatine. Like those people were selected to be Inquisitors for a reason because they were kind of the weaklings. And in Trilla's case, she was just a Padawan. So like, and these people weren't getting trained. They were just taught, they're hunters. So that would not be in Barriss's like realm. If she were to come back, it would be in a different role.
Yeah. And even before I watched the video, I definitely got that feeling that she really didn't have ill will against, the certain Jedi to the point where she'd hunt them down. No. It was the ideals that were being twisted that she obviously had issues with. Yeah. And I mean, you see Qui-Gon and Count Dooku having those same issues, and they just dealt with it in a different way. And it would be nice to see something with Barriss where, you see that some sort of, ending to her story. It's too bad.
Oh, go for it.
I was going to say, it's too bad when we have characters like this that they throw up there and they're so important, but at the same time, they don't get an ending at all, or it's not done on the screen. Like somebody said earlier, Dark Disciple is a great book.
Yes.
But Asajj Ventress deserves more than that. Like, yes. It was supposed to be one of the episodes. Well, with the Clone Wars season 7 doing so well, it's like make that a movie, a mini movie, and it. I don't know if we'll see Barriss in the Bad Batch, or.
And I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you, Bailey. I don't. Do you even think we'll see her? I don't think we will. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, and I say that because I feel like that needs to be its own like story. That there's so much to unpack there, and I really do believe, and I completely agree with, the individual who said that Asajj deserved better. I think Barris would be a perfect opportunity to take a character and have an honest to God good redemption arc that doesn't involve dying. Okay, we've seen that. Now with Vader's, it made sense why it went that way. I would not see that guy, you know, having a life afterwards, but we've seen it with Kylo Ren. Like, how many characters have we seen where they messed up and they're like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself, you know, I'm good again. I don't want to see that. And also just her connection to Ahsoka. And there's actually a deleted scene in Clone Wars, which I wish they didn't delete, where it's literally Barris like telling Ahsoka that she never wanted Ahsoka involved, that was like a complete accident what happened. And so I just think, and she's so similar to Anakin that I think that would be such a good story, a good Star Wars story to show. Kind of like she is the flip side of Anakin. So to see like what life could have been like if Anakin decided like on Mustafar, like, hey, I messed up, like, I think that would just be an interesting story to tell. And I wish they would do it, but I really hope she doesn't show in the Bad Batch, just because that's not the place to do it. The Bad Batch show is about the Bad Batch, you know, and it should stay that way. Even though I said I want these cameos to happen, I don't want these cameos to take away from what this show is supposed to be about. You know, like I wouldn't want Ahsoka to take away from the Mandalorian or, you know, Bo-Katan or anything. I think, you know, these cameos are there to serve a certain purpose, but they exit, you know, like then it's back to, okay, now we're back to Grogu and, you know, Din. So I wouldn't want that, and that's an issue I had with that one theory is like that it's just not the place to do it. You know, if we're gonna explore that, it needs to be its own separate entity. And I agree with that Dark Disciple. I love that book. That is a book like Master and Apprentice that I wish I could see turn into a movie or a show where it just a little animated something. I think that would be great. But Ventress dying killed it for me. I liked, you know, the redemption, but it's like, of course you're gonna die. Right when you go back to, of course, we're gonna kill him. Like,
well, and I think that's one of the things that they use as like a tool is like people are obviously gonna be so specific and technical about it. Like, well, why didn't they show up in the later films then? Like, where was Ahsoka during all of this? And you know, people are going to be like, well, where was the Bad Batch after this? So, you know, it does make sense that they're probably going to die saving someone.
Or do these people forget that we're in the galaxy far, far away with like many planets and other dimensions? So, like, I mean, you could write it off. There is a way to go about it. But I do get what you're saying. Like, there is a reason why we're seeing these characters die is because we don't see them later on. So there has to be a logical explanation. But at the same time, we are dealing with space and people can hide, you know? So, yeah, and in these films, the original Ahsoka was Filoni's creation. So it's like, yeah, like none of these characters were made when the original films were made. Star Wars was supposed to just be A New Hope. So,
yeah.
I am seeing now that I'm looking. I also did pull up I swear I know how to do this sometime.
So my favorite, Bailey, when he's pulling stuff up, Bailey, you watch his face. You have like 6 screens or something, Brandon. You look at all. I got to check this screen and that. How many screens do you have?
I've got 2, but I've got like 12 tabs.
Okay.
He doesn't actually work for a school. He's a private investigator. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But that is something that I noticed with just side note here with the Fandom Menace is they are so quick to like take the littlest things and spin them out of control. Like the title of that video alone, she will show up in the Bad Batch. Like, it's like,
Well, that's the thing that
Where's
cracks me
your
up.
evidence, sir?
Yeah, every time, and this is a good example of Barasafi. Every time a slightly green-skinned female with some form of tattoos, not even close to hers or none, shows up, they're like, that's Barasafi. It's got to be her. Yeah, because there's not millions of those people of that race wandering around or anything, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, like with the Seven Sisters, like that's not her. First of all, she's yellow. Like, and Filoni has said that many times. Like, no. I think they're saving her for something. You know, I don't think she would be kept in the dark all these years if there wasn't some sort of reason for it, and that's why she wasn't in Fallen Order or anything like that. I'm pretty sure. I think he does have a plan.
This is where we get into the wishful thinking part of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Wishful thinking. I'm just
where Bailey's like, please be saving her for something good.
But yeah, well, that's where the anxiety comes into. It's like, oh God, like just because in Legends she's like a healer, and the stuff we've seen her in before, the Wrong Jedi, it's her being a good person. So like to have that sudden change without any before and after just doesn't make sense. And we touched on this lightly, like with Anakin, in our last stream where Brandon's like, one of the things that I think people found jarring in the prequels was how they felt Anakin's turn was so quick. You know, despite, you know, knowing like what went into it and whatnot. Well, that was no different with Barris. You know, you show her once in season 2, a couple times, and then 3 seasons later, all of a sudden, this happens. And then we get like no explanation whatsoever. So that's the thing that drives me nuts. It's like, if we're going to literally drop these bombs, I want follow-up. And even with this Bad Batch show, is like, I don't want them to give us things and not follow up with them. Leave it open-ended.
Yeah. Really quick, Brandon, if you want a clean version of that, go to your Twitter messages in the Bad Batch crew. One I have that cleaned and by itself because I haven't prepared for our streams. If you need that, we can still see the one you had up too. So you brought that up for a reason. What were you going to say there, Brandon?
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. I had it, but then I clicked it and I must have saved it weird because it wasn't showing up. But
Daddy got you covered, baby. Daddy got you covered. Got to make it weird for a second. You know how it is. But
yeah. I got really excited when I saw this, especially with the hologram of the Emperor.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The most recent trailer that we got, the music and everything was super exciting, and I feel like we know where it's headed. And there might be some surprises, but I think it's going to be really fun. And I know, Bailey, you said you're at like a 5 on it. I said I'm like a 7.5 to 8. Paul, what did you say?
So I don't know if I'm sophisticated enough to give it an answer, but I'm somewhere in between you two. I'm not quite as pragmatic as Bailey. Because I went through, you guys are lucky. You were born in an era where Star Wars just keeps coming out all the time. But, you know, me and like Darth Mark and Shabby and all those guys, we went through an era where we had no Star Wars other than books for like, you know, a couple of decades. So I'm just excited to have Star Wars stuff. And the thing that I'm most looking forward to on this, and which is why I would give it like a 6 or a 7, is it's the part, and I've said this before, it's the part of the timeline where we need more stuff. Right after the rise of the Empire, I want to see them start turning into stormtroopers. I want to see Tarkin really become the badass that he is. You know, that mean mother that he is. And so I'm kind of a little bit looking forward to it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
This guy over here, you guys can't see what I'm pointing at. The white bald clone. That's Fives, isn't it not? Where they rescued him at the end of okay. So there was 4 to begin with, and Fives joins them, and then we have the Omega in that picture, and we have the Emperor.
Yep.
But we've also known from these posters that they could just be putting a bunch of stuff on there, and that might not be the important elements. Am I right?
But you know what kind of drives me crazy a little bit is just like these guys are significantly lighter than like Tamora. You know, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's because they're kind of like the last batch, but I'm like, wow, these guys are very pale looking.
Yeah. So I think they took a lot of liberties with their voices and what they looked like in the Clone Wars, frankly, and they got away from the Tamora thing. And it doesn't shock me because we're just seeing more of that. At least that was my take.
And like, why is it Echo? Is the clone that came back? Echo's the really, really pale one. Yeah, it's like, well, why would he be that significantly pale?
It was because he was in that. It's because he was in that freezing chamber where they were.
Right. That's what I think they're doing. Yeah, that's what I think they're trying to do. Oh, so that's not Fives. That's Echo then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no,
okay. Echo. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yep. What in the top right corner of this? That looks like it looks like 3 lights pyramid, the kind of stuff we see over top of Phoenix all the time, and no one can tell us what it is. What is that? What ship is that?
Their ship, correct?
Is that a Star Destroyer?
It's not a Star Destroyer. You can see it in the trailer. I think it's their base kind of that they fly in. The Bad Batch themselves.
That's their ship.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then
this one right up over. Oh, geez. There. Now you can see my cursor.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
This one over here. That's the Imperial.
Yeah. It's a standard shuttle.
Yeah, the Imperial shuttle. Mm-hmm. And it's cool to see. I can't wait to see that in the episode, to see, the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
I wish
Bottom right.
Yeah.
It looks like a cross between the Venators and the newer Star Destroyers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. And then the bottom left, that character right there, those are just regular clones that are in the background for filler, right? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. I think this is going to be fun to do, you guys. Obviously, we won't go 2 hours each time on the recaps. We've been having fun tonight, but the recaps we're hoping will be somewhere between a half hour and an hour. We'll probably I'll leave it up to you guys. We can do a pre-episode. I liked Chris's idea of rehashing the season 7 of the Clone Wars just as a primer for people who, I doubt anybody watching us doesn't know what that was about, but it still could be fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt, Tina. That's pretty weird. It's like, oh, Star Wars. Yeah, for sure. And then every Saturday, probably 5 or 6 in the afternoon, kind of like something like now. Does that sound about right to you guys? Mm-hmm. Okay. Brandon, unless you disagree, I think we could probably go ahead and wrap it up. Okay. Yeah. Bailey, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Ladies first.
No. I think we've hit it, and I'm just really excited. I want to be proven wrong. Like, I just want to say that. Like, I want to be surprised. I do. Like, take what I say with a grain of salt. Like, I'm not a hater or one of the fandom menace. It's just like, these are just observations, and I hope it blows me away. So we'll see.
The word I use for you, Bailey, is pragmatic, and I mean that as a compliment. You keep stuff within perspective, and you and I come from a similar family, and we know to expect the worst and be surprised by anything better, and the world will work out well for you.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Brandon, any final words, sir?
I just want to say thanks, everybody in the chat. It sounds like people are excited to see this. It sounds like people are, this might be one of those shows where it doesn't get as much attention, so it'll be really fun to talk with people and bounce ideas off of each other. I think it's really
don't hurt your hand. Oh, trust me. Like, I know it sounds loud, but believe me, these are just little taps. But but maybe for the sake of audio, I will.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when you come over, Bailey, because I've been training Bailey on how to, for my days in public affairs on how to be on camera. Yeah, because our first video, she clapped the whole time. Yeah, so, well, Brandon, I just appreciate you and Bailey, giving an old guy a chance to be relevant and to be part of what I think is 2 of the smartest people I've run into since we started doing this YouTube thing. So thank you guys. Thanks for hosting tonight, Brandon. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks for yeah, thanks for letting me do this on the channel.
Absolutely. And I once again, I appreciate everybody who joined us in the chat as well tonight. I try to be as entertaining as possible, but I think some people are like, I'm going to go watch Three's Company. So,
all right. And for anybody, I have Paul's channel as the pinned comment, and it's in the description. And we'll do the stuff over on his channel. We're going to do this announcement here. And yeah,
yeah, just for clarification, it's the show will be hosted on Paul's Collectibles. But I talked a lot tonight compared to what I want to do. I'll talk even less then, and it'll be these two smart people. So, but yeah, it'll be hosted over there. And there you go. Yep. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Thank you too for coming on. I'm really excited, and I think some others are too. And I think the most important thing is that we're all excited.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Even if nobody watches, I'll still get to talk to you guys, so I'll be happy. So PB&Ewok.
I love it. I love it. Please send a letter to that. Needs to be a menu item.
Yeah.
And I would order it.
Nice.
Oh, I definitely would.
IG11 pale ale to go along with it. So, yep.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See you around.